The future on everyone's mind right now, how we work, eat, and play, ever evolving, right? Julie Gorgata shows you how the pandemic is moving us forward and shaping how we live.
In a world that perhaps feels more fractured than ever, what could unify us more than something we all feel? That's change.
It's actually pushed us creatively. The
pandemic shaping every aspect of our lives, how we enjoy.
A lot of the things that I've been enjoying has been virtual.
To how we eat.
We're fighting for that customer.
And even how we feel.
I haven't seen my children or my grandchildren.
Sometimes you close the door, you pray, and hope that it's going to be a better day.
Good job.
We'll play again.
Before she could even touch the pedals, piano was the familiar refrain in Abby Huang's life.
She didn't start speaking until later in life, and when she came out, it came out with the music.
Her mother, Wei Wei, watched her piano-playing prodigy light up the stage at Carnegie Hall in New York at age 8.
It brought tears to my eyes for sure.
I feel proud. I feel happy.
But the last year, as concert halls sat empty across the country,
take it away.
Abby played not for the masses, but online fans.
We typically read the feedbacks from the Facebook posts that, cheers her up.
Being physically distant changes things.
I've had to adapt choreography for spatial awareness.
For Jordan Morris, a choreographer in residence at Orlando Ballet, it meant pushing the envelope.
For instance, in Moulin Rouge, what I started to use was his cane as an extension of his arm. I'm going to keep some of that choreography when it goes back to the normal, the new normal.
One of the first ballet companies in the country to head back to the stage.
Please get close for taking temperature.
Orlando Ballet follows strict temperature and testing protocols.
All done.
Masks are everywhere.
The audiences love the show. I think they're really enjoying that the arts are able to give them something during this time.
Audiences hungry for art.
You're not really talking to nobody in real life.
However, they can get it.
Usually I'm an outdoor concert person, so we have our blankets down.
But Monisha Perkins saw the novel concept, spaced out pods on the front lawn at the Dr. Phillips Center, and decided she'd take her lunch outside.
And I still feel like I'm at a concert and I'm actually enjoying listening to the music, at least for the next 2 to 3 years. This is how we're gonna be.
Safety often keeping us home, but still hungry. Grocery spending in Florida up 27% over the last year. So convenience, compelling change, how we consume. Suddenly, everything could be picked up or delivered.
The fact that now people are doing takeout and not eating at the restaurant, well, that's something that kind of frustrating.
One more French fries.
Thomas Ward owns Pig Floyd's Urban Barbacoa along Mills Avenue in downtown Orlando.
Sweeter hot barbecue sauce.
Where takeout used to account for 15 to 20% of business. Now still, it's 50. So foreshadowing what the future of dining might look like, Ward's covering his outdoor patio and trying to reach that customer at home.
We're doing a podcast now. We're doing this Beyond the Brisket videos.
Across the street.
We also have to get creative in communicating with our guests about every aspect of the business.
It's how Juliana Calloway says they were able to keep Black Rooster Taqueria afloat. Not just serving up tacos, but doubling down on an idea.
What if you could order somebody 4 margaritas with a nice note and they got delivered to their doorstep? 200 orders later, it just took off.
Part of what people crave now.
It's not just hungry to get out and go out to eat, but I think just having this sense of community.
Because time apart changed things, changed us. A recent survey by insurance company The Standard and Versta Research found nearly half of full-time workers are dealing with mental health issues.
It's not that people can't work, it's that people are starting to work too much. They've got no transition between work and home.
The Vested Group's Joel Patterson says he sees a hybrid model, work from home and the office, as to what's next.
What's your concern for the future then?
I worry about what you're missing. You're not getting any of the rapport building. It's really difficult to connect over video.
Because the pandemic left us hungry for human interaction.
But they're so joyful, and we've missed all that joy.
Whether you're like Sylvia Dugas,
And that's Calvin, that's one of my grandkids.
a snowbird from Ohio all cooped up,
We're a close family, and it's just been difficult, you know.
as her playroom sits silent.
I feel cheated. People our age are missing the contact with kids and grandkids, and you can't make that up. It's just gone.
Now it's your turn.
You see that?
Or like single mother Emily Zulu, laid off from her hotel job 1 year ago, facing eviction.
I can only win with my kids.
You wonder how you'll even scrape by.
Next thing I see is just something on my door saying that, you know what? We're giving you almost less than 2 weeks. Like, I've got 2 kids. How am I going to get my stuff out of here? How am I going to find a new place?
Zulu's searching for a job and for strength.
This is what I'm going through with my kids. This is our story.
It's hard to predict what a post-pandemic world might look like, what changes will stick, but it showed us what we can do.
I'm so thankful that I'm one of the few artists that is able to be working at this time.
And what matters most.
They are my happiness. They are my happiness.
The year of COVID placing a disproportionate impact on poor and minority communities, the stories they're sharing with our Curtis McLeod reveal an unrelenting year of hardships, but those adversities ignited a passion to overcome.
2020, the year Harold and Jackie Gatterow expected their franchise business to flourish. With one location already in the Dr. Phillips area of Orlando, they opened a second healthy food store in Ocoee, but they wanted to meet with customers one-on-one.
We depended on customers coming in so we can explain to them what we offer and what we're all about.
Like the Gatterows' hope for a prospering business,
he got very happy just being there.
Nareda Ruiz hoped to take trips and spend most of her time with the love of her life, Angel.
He used to call me princess.
Her husband of just 3 years.
Hold my hand, and he used to say, "Your food was so good." Oh, that got me always.
But life took a dramatic turn for both of these families last year, the pandemic sweeping the country, forcing Nareda to rely on faith, while the Gatterows remained optimistic.
We didn't know how long things were going to be closed down. We didn't know if we were considered essential workers.
The same is true for many industries throughout the state, things especially hard for minority business owners. During the height of the pandemic, at least 41% of Black businesses closed nationwide.
It all came down to access to capital.
Tanisha Nangiri is president and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce in Central Florida. She says many minority businesses face challenges because they didn't have the same access to funding.
I think it's just all going back to what we've seen as a pattern in our country's history, is that people of color, in particular Black and brown people, have always faced challenges when it comes to getting loans.
The Small Business Association says only 9% of the Paycheck Protection Program went to Black businesses. And while businesses suffered,
He used to sell lollipops and chiclet.
So did many families literally fighting the virus. Nareda and her husband Angel were both diagnosed with coronavirus. They fought that battle together. Angel, already fighting cancer, took a turn for the worse.
I waved to him, and he lifted up his hand, and I told him, "Don't worry, baby, you are gonna come back home." The same night, the doctors called me. They told me that his oxygen wasn't, that he wasn't gonna make it.
Angel's symptoms quickly worsened due to his pre-existing conditions, a problem many minority communities are facing. The CDC estimating minorities with pre-existing conditions are 6.5 times more likely to end up in the hospital compared to those who are healthy, and their survival rate significantly drops.
I miss him. You don't know how much I miss him so much.
Still, through her grief, Nareda found love in community. She's now volunteering, providing resources for people in need.
She fell back on her community of faith. She fell back on her faith in the Lord, and then she bounced forward in service to the community and love to her neighbor.
It has given me strength. I like to help others.
And so does Laretha Burton Fudge. She also goes door to door, dropping off food to neighbors in the Jackson Court Senior Living community in Orlando.
She know you're being taken care of.
Laretha's also collecting names of eligible seniors who are willing to get the coronavirus vaccine.
It's up to me or someone like me to help them get what they need to survive. And without this vaccine, we won't survive.
So far, she's collected about 40 names with hopes of getting state, county, and city leaders to bring the vaccine to people in her senior community. Do you believe that is the best way to increase people to get the vaccine in the Black community, is to bring the vaccine to them?
Yes. Yes, I do. Because the majority of them, as I say, they don't have transportation. They walk everywhere they go.
Data from the Florida Department of Health shows white people are about 2.5 times more likely to get the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine as Blacks. Orlando City Commissioner Regina Hill explains what she calls a glaring vaccine disparity.
Putting them in, the Winn-Dixies, in the Publix. We don't have those in our neighborhoods.
Each person with a different need, each family experience a little different than the other, but a common thread weaves throughout these communities as each one of them holds on to a little bit of hope and a lot of optimism.
I'm a very optimistic person, in general, and we continue to pray.
He'll come around me and grab me and start singing. And those are the things that I miss.
And the same goes for Nareda, who through grief found purpose to live life.
Because I have a lot of faith in my God. And every day I ask him to give me strength to help me keep on going.
Stephanie Quinu shares the stories of those touched deeply and forever changed because of the pandemic.
She was our strength.
Es un sobreviviente.
She's a survivor.
I feel really blessed that I can be in 2021.
While I'm sitting there watching from outside the door how sad it is, to be there, I realize that there's beauty in it too.
Seeing the beauty in the midst of tragedy. The coronavirus pandemic touching Floridians in starkly different ways.
She just meant so much to us. She was just like our strength. She was just my example of what a woman really is.
Here in Apopka is where Shirlette McCullough's grandmother is laid to rest.
She was our secret holder.
Faris Tharp Holmes is one of more than 487,000 Americans who have died because of COVID-19. The feisty, fashion-forward matriarch of the family tested positive for COVID-19 on July 4th, 2020. She passed away 14 days later, surrounded by family at the age of 93.
That was really tough, really tough. The reality of there with her in that moment, and just releasing her.
This is just one story highlighting what so many families are going through. In Florida, 83% of all COVID-19 deaths are those 65 and older. 9,710 residents in long-term care facilities have died, many unable to have physical contact with family since the pandemic began.
We visit her at the window and different things like that, celebrated with her as early as July 4th was the last celebration we had with her at the window for Independence Day.
Shirlette remembers the last conversation with her grandmother on that same day, saying it was a good one, full of love and laughter.
Her thing that she would always say to me is, keep your hand in God's hand. Do not let God's hand go.
Faith is also a reason why Fanny Paz believes she and her now 8-month-old son Matthew are here today, both contracting COVID-19 in July.
porque a un mes de nacido a él le dio esa
Her big
enfermedad.
concern is because he was premature, she doesn't know how that would impact him.
Matthew was just 1 month old when he tested positive for COVID-19, something not very common. Only 4% of all pediatric cases in Florida involve children under 1 year old.
How scared were you as a mother? Wow, muchísimo.
She mentioned one specific day where she went to the bathroom and she was on the floor, on the wall. She couldn't breathe and her baby was on the crib, and she wondered would she even be able to get up to see her child again.
Míralo.
Fanny and Matthew no longer have COVID-19, but are now known as long haulers, people with lingering effects months after they've recovered. Recent studies show 10% of COVID-19 patients go on to become long haulers even if their symptoms were mild. For Fanny, that includes blurry vision and memory loss. For Matthew, a rash and allergies, and hair loss for both.
The dermatologist said, I've been following him this whole time, and all I can say is he's a survivor because at 1 month old, he already had COVID.
At 67, John Kebler knows about survival, having recovered from 3 strokes. And he knows about strength, caring for his now late wife as she battled cancer 2 years ago.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Come on, B.
It's this mindset John has continued through this pandemic, isolating and focusing on the simple joys of daily life.
Can't keep her nose out of the stickers.
Like walking his furry companion of 16 years, Sandy.
Scallops.
And soaking up the Florida sunshine while reading grocery sales.
Honestly, it's a blessing when you think about it that I've been isolated. Maybe this is what has saved me from getting the big bye-bye, I love you.
John's now using his sense of humor and blunt take on life to get through another challenge, signing up for a COVID-19 vaccine.
This is a huge problem.
Vaccine distribution facing many hurdles in the first few months, supply not meeting demand.
I want to meet you when we say, hey, John, 0 to 25 age group is taking their shots and it's really working. That's why I want to be here to see.
It's a wish Lindsay Fairchild is working to fulfill each and every day for her patients. Patients of all races and backgrounds and beliefs, all gravely ill with COVID-19. As an ICU nurse, Lindsay knows how critical that care is for the patients and their loved ones.
Now every single patient is my dad. You know what I mean? Every single one is my dad laying in that bed.
Last year, Lindsay's father contracted COVID-19. She says she found out by text at work.
I'm taking care of a patient that just mirrored my father and what he was going through.
Doctors eventually put Lindsay's father on a ventilator, and she flew to Ohio to see him, hoping to be by his side one last time. Hospital protocol didn't allow that, so she stood outside her father's hospital room window.
In that moment of heartbreak and like the pain of just, to be 10 feet away from your dad as he's dying, it might as well have been 100 miles.
Lindsay sharing this moment of 2 nurses holding her father's hand during his final moments.
We're all going through this. It's hard for everybody. There's a unity to it too.
Unity is the word Lindsay chose as a wish for the future. For Charlotte, her word is healing. For Fanny, it's health and peace of mind for the world. And for John, it's understanding. A difference of perspectives, opinions, races, genders, backgrounds, all going through this pandemic together.